I love your show. Your show is one of the only shows where I feel like we can talk really real.
Yay.
And nothing's off limits. And let's talk about being brave women today.
Okay, I'm in. I love it that you're willing to be very real and authentic, because authenticity is extremely powerful. So I know your story, single mom, Christian comic. You're moving to Sacramento to be my neighbor in Sacramento, which I'm super pumped about it, which I think is incredible. And her ex-husband is moving with her too, which there's an incredible thing there that you've been able to do.
Both on your show someday.
I will. I'll bring it in studio. We could do it in real life since you're just down the street from me. Call it
the exes, but yeah.
So what would you, I'm not going to bring my ex on, but that's another story. So one of the questions I like to start off with, and just whatever comes to mind, what's the bravest thing you've done lately and how'd you get through it?
I don't want to answer that lately. I want to answer that.
Okay.
In the past 8 years of my life, I think living as a single mom is the bravest thing I've had to do, forced to do.
Yeah.
A lot of times bravery is not elective. Bravery is thrown upon us. So if you're listening to this show right now and you're like, I'm in a situation where I have to jump off a cliff or I'm going to burn in a burning inferno. That's life, girls. That's life. And I think bravery is sometimes not a choice. It is a necessity, but we get through it. And so I feel like living this life that I've lived for the past, 8 years has been really brave. And I'm not just getting through it. I'm thriving.
How are you doing that?
Jesus. I'm sorry. Here's a Christian show. There's nothing else but Jesus. There's nothing else. There's so many times I pray this very eloquent prayer and it's got 2 words and I say, fix it. Fix it, God.
Ooh.
Fix it. That goes for my finances. That goes for my health. That goes for my children. That goes for my life. Fix it. And God has been a partner. God has been a husband. God has been a provider. And there's no other way. There's no other way I would have gotten through any of that. And with the power of female friendships have been really, which I'm excited about in Sacramento. I'm starting over, but I feel like I'm not starting over because I never plan on moving to Sacramento. And I think this is another point for your listeners that sometimes God has these plans for you and he's been planning it all along and you had no idea. So I was cultivating this friendship with you. I was cultivating these friendships with these ladies in Sacramento, shout out. And then bam, I'm moving there. So I'm not having to start completely over.
No.
And that is like, God knew that 10 years ago. So I feel like he's always planning for us, even when we don't know.
I totally get that. Like I moved to Sacramento 10 years ago from DC by myself as a single mom with 3 kids. I did the same thing. Mine were really young when I did that. And to have a job, to chase down a job and a career. And people were like, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? Why wouldn't you just move back home to be with your family? That would be the safest thing for you to do. But I don't know about you, but I don't believe in doing the safest thing because I don't think there's any growth in that. Have you had people that are telling you like, you're crazy, you're a comedian, you're involved in the movie industry, you've got movies, you've got all these meetings, you're doing stuff for the Hallmark channel, and I know you've got other big things going. Why would you move out of LA to Sacramento? That's crazy.
I know everybody in LA is like, oh, thank God, like I want to leave too. Like
really? Okay.
They're all like, I think here's the thing about us, Amanda. We weren't born to be safe. And I feel like that's a genetic code that the Lord bestowed upon us. And not everybody has to live like we do. But, moving out to Los Angeles in a minivan with my parents and being dropped off in the middle of LA and them driving away in the minivan back to Atlanta, Georgia. And my dad drew me a map with a magic marker that tells you how old I am. There was no GPS, right? Like early 2000s. He drew me a map and I'm crying and I'm in Marina Del Rey, just standing there in Oakwood corporate housing. And then which I love about Gen X girls, we are scrappy, right? So I got the newspaper, I got 3 jobs. I was like, if these millennials tell me they can't work one more day, but you put yourselves continually in these like situations where you're forced to be resourceful. I want to give a shout out to all my Gen X girls. Yeah, and even the boomers, man, we just didn't have a choice.
Mm-mm.
We didn't have a choice to be brave. We didn't have a choice. Like our parents were like, okay, bye. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, you should probably live with us for 8 years and like figure out what triggers
Right.
you. You know what I mean? Like it was not like that.
Maybe part of it's generationally, we can go ahead and seek out change because we know that something's good for us. Like, do you think that, well, I know I've been through it in certain times of my life that I have been afraid to move to the next level because I just, the unknown was very scary to me. I remember when I first became a single mom, I was scared to death. I was like, nobody's going to accept me. I'm not going to be able to work in ministry anymore.
Oh,
and
girl.
then that fear of other people's judgment really affected me for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Limited me. I allowed it to limit me until I was reading this book, Man's Search for Meaning, from the recommendation of my therapist. Recommend 2 things, that book and therapy.
And therapy, right?
And it was one moment I remember I was sitting in a booth in Panera and I closed the book. I was like, that's it. I'm going to live my life. I was like, that is it.
You're gonna hear me roar like in Panera, right?
Yes. Did you have a moment like that? Like you change your life, chase down this career. Now you're moving again.
I have to be honest with you, Amanda. Yeah. I've been doing this my whole life and I never felt fear about career wise. Like I want it so bad. And if somebody comes to me and my kid wants to be an actor, my kid wants to work in Hollywood, and I'm like, how bad do they want it? Are they willing to like cut somebody for it? Are they willing to like just like go a dollar
eat ramen?
So I've always been a grinder career wise. I've always been like, let me have it. Let me have it. I don't think I would have survived this long in this career if I don't grind. And that meant when I was 26 years old, I wrote this book, handwritten, my diary chapters. And I literally it took me like years. Maybe I was done several years later. And I went on Craigslist and I looked up publicist. I didn't even know. I was like, I wrote this book and I called this lady on the phone. She represented Willie Nelson and all these people. And she's like, well, what do you have for a budget? I was like, well, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take this dollar bill. I'm gonna fold it in half. And then you can have half of this $1 of my budget. And then she loved my tenacity. I didn't even know what a publicist would do. And she cut her fee in half and then she cut her fee in half again to work with me. And the next thing you know, I got this book published and she's doing this like celebrity book party. And I was like, who's the celebrity? And she goes, you. I go, no, I'm not. She goes, yeah, from now on, you're a celebrity comedian, Kerri Pomarolli. And I had been on some shows. I'd done a few things. And I said, what do you mean? She goes, oh, no. Like you're crushing clean comedy. You're a celebrity comedian. If you say it and you believe it, other people will too. And so I've just lived by that motto of and women, we feel so bad about promoting. Like when you did my intro today and you said crushing clean comedy, immediately I go, oh, it's so arrogant, right? But like we really do need to learn to promote ourselves in a positive, healthy way to say, I deserve this promotion. I deserve to be manager. I deserve a raise. We shouldn't live in this apologetic culture to where we talk to people and the first sentence out of our mouth is, I'm sorry to bother you, but it is not the way to live. And we do it. I do it. I still do it. All, in certain circumstances. So I think it's good to look at your life and say, what areas am I really strong and I have no problem moving forward? And what areas do I just feel stuck in?
I like that. So in those areas that you feel strong, you own it, you claim it. Like you're like, I'm crushing clean comedy. And I'd be like, look, like I'm a great radio host. I'm a good radio host. I'm a good podcast host. I like to create content that inspires people. This is what I do. So, or you are fantastic at running your family. You're like, this is what I do. What do you do with the things that you know you need help in? What was the second area you say you like things?
I ask for advice. I really do. I ask for advice and I use this very powerful sentence. What would you do to certain people that I really trust? A couple people, small circle. I'm in this situation and here's the facts. And I'm not telling you in a gossipy way, but I'm in this business relationship. This person is not showing up. This person is not taking responsibility. This person is not doing the job. I know I should fire them, but I'm so scared. I'm so scared that I'm going to miss out on that one nugget of, and they give you just enough to keep you hanging on. And I relate everything to a boyfriend you can't break up with, but that doesn't have to be an actual boyfriend. It could be your contractor, your plumber, your tennis partner, whatever. Like, and so I'm
or
always
your boyfriend that's not treating you really well. Yeah.
But I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. This person didn't show up for the meeting. This person isn't texting me back. This person is doing this and this. And my friends are like, well, I would just put the facts out, say this isn't working for me, and move on. And I'm like, yeah, but they might have this little more information to give me and I might need it. Like, I'm so scared to be alone in certain, relationships.
Or I think we're scared of people not liking us.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Here's what's the unhealthy part is we live in cancel culture 2022. So I'm afraid you're not going to like me. So I'm going to cut you out of my entire life instead of being brave and trying to be dignified and work this out in a civil manner and say, well, this relationship didn't work out for me, but if I see you walking down the street, we can still be civil. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just so click, delete, click, unfollow, click, unfriend. And that's not healthy. That's like, I come from an Italian background and me too. Yeah. And my father, who probably isn't going to listen to this podcast, so I can tell you, he is Italian because he doesn't have a computer. He's very Italian, and that's how he grew up in the family. You're dead to me. We don't talk to Aunt Lucy. We don't talk to Aunt Marie. She got in a fight with Grandma Catherine, and they're never going to talk again. And they're sisters. That's how I grew up. And so now I have to stop myself going, you're scaring me. You're intimidating me. I don't like this. It's okay to say boundaries. This relationship isn't going to go any further in this, but I don't have to just like cancel you. Do you know what I mean? I don't just have to.
Yes. Yes and no. I agree. But there are some people though, not that you're, what's the barrier though? But there are some people, as I know you and I have gone through some, rough things in past relationships that maybe I allowed too long in my life.
Oh yeah.
Because I thought I was being the nice person, or I thought I was doing the right thing, like my marriage, and knowing that I was being hurt. And that was something that I needed to have the guts to say, no, you're hurting me. You're done.
That's a higher level. I was talking, yes, because that's a whole nother podcast, but I think in our daily lives, we are constantly lowering our expectations in our daily interactions. Maybe you have that friend who always flakes on you and she's like, just like you make plans. She never texts back. She never says anything. So the other day I said to my friend, Wendy, you haven't texted me back like 3 times. I love you, girl, but what up? And she's like, oh, dude, I got COVID. I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. But like, I had to at least go, okay, but I love you, but just shoot me a text because we were supposed to meet for lunch. And I know you got COVID, but your fingers didn't get COVID. You could like text me, I'm not coming. Do you know what I mean? So just having better like boundaries. It doesn't mean I don't want to be your friend, but sometimes I put that person in like a different lane. She may not be the one that I'm going to like count on. You have to put people in a different lane.
That's smart. Well, I think, as we are striving, I'm not saying I'm the bravest woman on the planet. That's why I'm doing this podcast, is how to learn to be brave. It's really for me. Right. So I want to be, I think, brave women, the followers of this platform, my brave babes. We don't cancel people out. And we also, brave women, aren't women that we understand how crazy women's lives are in 2022. And if you've got a girl in your tribe that is struggling, that she's not responding or something's going on, instead of taking personal offense, I feel like brave women, that's when you lean in and you be like, hey girl, are you okay? Like, really, are you okay? I'm here without judgment. What's happening? Like, if you're struggling with something, whether it's a relationship, addiction, something, I don't want to be the one that's going to judge you, because I shouldn't, especially in my tribe of friends. I'm the one that loves Jesus. So I'm the last person that needs to judge them. They need to see me as the person to call in those situations. Do you agree with being that person in your tribe?
I totally agree. And then there is going to come a day when it's like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, like the third of the fourth time. And you go, like after you've realized it's not some serious situation and somebody's just repeatedly letting you down, it's not that you can cancel them, but you can just be like, I'm just going to wait for them to reach out to me next time.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. It's convicting because I was just thinking of like more than one situation where somebody with social media, it's just terrible. Like we have to pretend that everybody on our social media is our friend, but they're really like, sometimes they're not even a real relationship, but it's a social media relationship. And yet this person might say something that's really hurtful or say something like, I'm not just talking about commenting on a picture, but I mean like message, like just saying something that's just wrong. And then you're like, oh, I feel bad if I'm not their Facebook friend. Well, first of all, it's not even real. Okay. Like if you don't have my phone number and you don't know where I live and you don't have my email address, we're on a different plane of relationships. And if you're saying something offensive, I have no problem pushing the delete button. I have no problem with that because we're making technology relationships so much bigger than they really are. I think a real friend has my phone number. Okay. A real friend, technology makes us seem these fake relate. Well, there's this woman and, you know, we message I've never met her, but she's saying things like offensive and it was just like, at one time it was about one of my kids and I was like, my Italian, it wasn't me, but it was just.
She poked the mama bear. That's
mama bear. And dude, I was so Italian. I was so like, bye. And I was like, oh man, that was so not. I mean, we went back and forth a few times and I told her this is wrong. And she kept doing it. And I said, I don't agree with you making this statement about my daughter. And I have a daughter who's, you know, an amazing testimony. And I'm walking in healing and victory for her. And this woman would not get on board with that, was conflicting with my Christian belief system and my walk of faith. Bye, Felicia, or whatever your name is. No problem. But that's not a real friendship. That's just somebody who can press a message button. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You're right. And being a brave babe is someone that's able to do hard things and to have the hard conversations in a loving way. We're like, hey, something's going on in our relationship. I just like, what can I do? Are you interested in this and being a tribe member or not? Like, let me know. You know, I've had friends reach out something that they were offended by that, something that I've said or done. And I've approached that by saying, thank you so much for telling me.
Yeah,
let me explain, like, so that way we could like tell somebody in a nice way. That way we could heal our friendship or relationship or put a nice little bow on it and say, okay, you're going this way. I'm going this way. Okay. You know, I wish you the best, but not to have this just unspoken delete. I agree with you. That's one of the hard things that brave babes can do.
For the most part, if you look at your friendships, your really long-term friendships, you're not having conflict. It's rare.
No. Yeah.
It's really rare. I have a best friend named Gina that we've been friends for, really long. Oh my gosh, over 20 years. Twice in 20 years have we had a real kind of knock down, have to talk it out. And it was funny because we haven't had a lot of conflicts. So the first time we did, it was like, so what, you know, and she's an avoider. So she just wanted all this time to pass. And then I'm a verbal processor, right? So I'm like, we got to talk this out. And then after we finally got through it, she's like, well, your family, nothing's ever going to come between us. And I go, your family too, but you have to talk to me. So we kind of came to our own agreement.
Yeah. So, you know, we're talking a little bit about, I'm going to go backwards. There's another question I wanted to ask you. Sorry, but this is podcasting. We get to have a normal conversation. You're talking a little bit about how we've got to be more strong and courageous in the way that we approach our lives, our personal lives, our professional lives, and not apologizing.
Right.
We're speaking up. We can be real here. So do you agree with me? I'm going to own this statement. I honestly feel like sometimes I had a bit of a legalistic Christian growing background that I've had to undo. Okay. That I've kind of had, it's Southern Baptist. And no offense, but back then it was pretty legalistic when I was there. And also, you know, limiting to women, you know, women couldn't be pastors, women couldn't be leaders. And I think I always was taught to kind of be passenger seat instead of a lead. And do you think sometimes, how have you broken free from kind of that so-called old school Christian ideal that we were supposed to just be this way. Because as a single parent, we've had to. I was like, well, I'm not married. I don't stay at home. I don't have like perfect outfits and my house isn't very clean. I don't fit in anymore because I'm not the Christian ideal. So then I apologize for myself all the time.
Well, Amanda, funny you should ask. I wrote 3 books about that because I was like, the opening of my book, Confessions of the Proverbs 32 Woman, was I didn't breastfeed my kids till they were 12. I don't cook farm to table crock pot meals, and I don't homeschool. And like, we're hot mess for Jesus. So I just embraced my hot mess for Jesus. And there's a lot more of us than there are of them, but thems are writing books and doing chores. But the us are at home cleaning, like finding old Christmas candy under the bed and like trying to do our 5-minute YouTube workouts and, eating gummy bears for breakfast. So I just embraced the messiness. I am still struggling with the same stuff that I struggled with in my 20s. It's just a different decade. And I'm learning not to feel bad about it. And here's my biggest thing. When anybody asks me, how do I what's my secret? I delegate and I ask for help. Like, as much as I can. I do not feel guilty, and I'm not like some super wealthy person, but I have a cleaning lady and she's coming today. Her name's Connie and she comes once a month. And if that means I have to go without buying sweaters or boots because I have to afford Connie once a month, like, she's worth it.
Yes.
I do not feel guilty for having Connie come to my house once a month to help me or whatever. Maybe it's twice a month, whatever, because I need it. I can't do it alone. When I moved, this lady, Karen, was like, oh, do you want me to help you come over and, unpack? And at first I was like, oh, that's so like, why would you want to help me? And I'm like, yeah, like, okay, yeah, you want to come keep me a company and I'll open some boxes. But we're so short of ourselves to ask for help, right? We just want everyone to think we have it all together. And more so for me, it's that I don't want to bother people. Like, I just have this thing of like, I don't want to bother you, but, instead of being like, I would like to ask for help and you have every right to say no, but we don't want to get rejected, right? So I think that's part of it.
A part of it for me is too, I learned this in my relationship, is I also feel like if I accept help, then that person's going to expect me to owe them. And I never wanted to have like a deficit, huge issues with that.
I used to pay money in my 20s on the first date. I would always want to pay because, or my portion, because I don't want to go out with you again. So I was like, if I really like you, you can buy me dinner. But if I don't like you, I'm buying my own dinner and you're going to drop me off at 7:15. Okay. You don't even have to slow down the car. I'm jumping out. I don't want you to call me back later, but I took you to Applebee's. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't. I don't owe you anything. Why do we do that to ourselves? Because
I don't know.
My boyfriend, Sean, he was like, he was cleaning my floors, and instead of feeling I know. Well, it's funny because instead of feeling really grateful, I was so nervous. This was when we first got together. He's like, I'm just here. I just want to help you. I'm like, yeah, but I feel like you're judging me. And then you're going to expect something from me because I don't have the time to clean my floors and right now.
Like, I'm not going to clean your floor, Sean. Okay.
Right.
This is not an even thing. This is not. I feel like if I ever date again, I need a guy with like the gift of helps because that's totally my love language. I used to be like, it's really hot. Clean out my car. Like,
my gosh, I know.
Owners, baby. Like, I'm old and middle-aged and I embrace the fact that I think it's sexy that he cleans your floors, man. I'm like, I'm all in.
Yeah. If you are an unmarried, under 30 person watching or listening to this podcast, please use, if I can include you in this, use us as your cautionary tale. Like, the most attractive guy is not the big flashy guy that is taking you on all these trips. He is the guy that cleans your car and fills it up with gas and sits next to you while you're watching Netflix. That's the guy.
I agree. I said, I don't really need a dating profile. I just want a guy to come over and sit on my couch. And do you also like Cobra Kai and The Crown? Because that's what's going to matter. And do we eat the same foods? Like, really, those two and Jesus, and I don't know what order, but really, do you like the same foods as me? Do you like the same shows with me? And do you like Jesus? And do you snore? Those 4 things. And do you have a health care? 5. That's it. I mean,
Wait, what's your credit score? No.
It's not complicated, but we make it complicated back to our point about not valuing ourselves and not being brave. It's like, instead of saying to the person that's, in the work relationship or the boss, like, hey, I'm not happy in this work situation, or I think I could do better. We're like, oh, I'm sorry to bother you, but could I talk to you about a transfer? I'm sorry to bother you. If you start a sentence with, I'm sorry to bother you, you're already weak. Like, you know what I mean? You're already like not in the power position because you've just lowered yourself below them.
But do you think that so many of us, we don't have female bosses, and we don't want to start that, but do you think it's accepted?
I don't think we should use that verbiage. I think we should be a little bit more confident. Like, hey,
I would like you to know.
I'd like to discuss with you.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, when you have a minute, let me know when we can chat. Is better than, I'm sorry to bother you, but I need to talk.
That's
so it's
really good.
It's different language. I've said, I'm sorry to bother you to people that work for me. And I'm like, I'm the one paying the bill, or I'm the one who's like handling it. So I think it's like changing your verbiage of like, hey, I have something I'd like to run by you. Instead of, that's
you're giving up your power, and they're like, oh, okay, this person is serious, because they want confidence. Confidence is sexy.
And I really feel like, in your business, because you work with a lot of men, like, have you had struggles being a woman? Because I don't ever, honestly, man, I never think about being a woman in my business.
Awesome.
But I don't work in a corporate environment like you. I do my own thing, and then I do meetings and you mentioned Hallmark Channel. That's a lot of women, or like when my writing partners are women. I'm around women a lot. And when I'm around guys that are comics, I just do my thing and they respect me.
And
but I've never, not never. It's just, you probably deal with it a heck of a lot. And I bet a lot of women that are listening that work in a 9-to-5 job or an industry. Have you had struggles?
Yes. Things that now you're turning it on me. Things I've heard, because I work with all men pretty much. Most jobs I've had, which I'm not complaining about at all. I love my career. Most jobs I've had, though, in radio, especially in Christian radio, I'm the girl on the show. Like, I'm the girl on the show, or I'm the girl, and there's one of us. But I've been told, had comments made about my body. Why do you want to have muscles? Why do you want to work out?
Oh, Lord.
I was wearing jeans sometimes that had remember those Miss Me jeans that had crosses on the back?
Yeah.
Or had bedazzled pockets.
Yeah.
I had one that had crosses, and someone said, I don't know if I should praise Jesus or look at your or I've struggled with, what show could you take? What air shift could you actually take? Because you're a single mom. Any air shift that I could
when my kids are
take,
10, so I'm probably still breastfeeding. So yeah, I mean, we just
air shift that a dad could take, or how could you take this promotion because you're a single mom and it involves travel? Well, I can get a babysitter, or I've got family that can come to visit, but the questions that wouldn't be asked of a male counterpart that would be going for the same position.
And I have gotten plenty of comedy jobs that are like, we need a girl. We need a girl on the show.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool, I'm going to go and kill it. And then you'll be happy you hired me. And then actually, even with the term Christian comedian, people pigeonhole me into that. Oh, you're a Christian comedian. Do you have puppets? You know what I mean? Do you do Bible stories? I'm like, no, I'm at the Hollywood Improv tomorrow night, as a comedian who happens to be a Christian.
Switching gears again, because I know there's something that you wanted to talk about. So I'm just going to pitch it to you. I know you said, hey, Amanda, I really want to talk about the fear of missing out and how brave babes can get through that. I want to make sure that we talk about that. So what is it you mean by that? Do you think, I see it myself sometimes, especially overcoming the past 2 years of being afraid to do anything. And then I got really used to not doing anything. And now I'm looking at people's social media. I'm like, wow, they're doing all this stuff. Is that what you mean about the fear? We have got to get over this?
Mine is more micro.
Okay.
And like I said, the people that I'm talking about probably wouldn't be on a listening to a Christian podcast. But so to be as specific as I can, I'm in a situation right now with somebody who's helping me on my house, my new house, and I hired them. So I'm the client, and they're not showing up for meetings. They're not texting back. They're not communicating. But every time I go to say I'm ending this relationship, I'm going to fire her, she knows, she could feel it. And she'll start sending me all these really great ideas, like this really great, like awesome things. And I'm like, oh, she's so talented. If I fire her, nobody else could do this job because she's amazing. But then 2 seconds later, she doesn't text me for 2 days. 2 seconds later, she's not showing up for a meeting, or it's just inappropriate behavior. But I'm like, oh, like, what if I miss out on her 2% awesome?
Yeah, but it's like that. Remember that old fashioned meme? It was like one of the first memes. I still remember this because a therapist showed this to me when I lost a dream job. I lost a dream job and I thought my life was over. And it was a picture of Jesus. You remember this? Jesus standing there, and a little girl was in front of us.
Oh, with the jewels?
And he's holding the big teddy bear.
Yes, yes.
So he's holding a big teddy bear behind his back, and the little girl says, and he has a little teddy bear, and then he's got a big teddy bear behind his back. And she's like, you can't have this one, but I want that one. And he goes, you have no idea what else is coming. And this is a bigger teddy bear. Like often we accept less than we are deserved because we're not paying attention to what God has for us. It does something better.
So right. And it's so funny. I could be on your podcast and be an example in 10 different areas, but like, there's always going to be that one area where I'm like, like, I don't want to, oh shoot, and I don't want to be by myself because if I fire this person, I'm by myself and I got to make these decisions, and maybe there's not another person on the other end, which I know there is. It's just literally like, and people do this to us. They know you're about to walk away, and they do just enough to get you to stay.
Oh, did you meet my ex-boyfriend? Is that
right?
You're right.
I know. I was like, let it lie.
But we are worth more than just enough.
Just enough to keep you hanging on. And that is every area of your, we could go real deep on another episode about a marriage or a relationship or a job, just enough. So, you know what I've actually done? This has actually been really beneficial. I've actually done written out like pro cons in situations and done 2 columns and the pros and the moving. I did it for moving. I did it for the pros of Sacramento, the cons of, do they check all my boxes? And I think sometimes it's just, I got to be strong. Like literally today, I have to be strong in this one situation. And if strong may appear to everybody listening or outside world, it's okay to admit that we've got those situations where we just don't feel strong, and it takes effort, and it takes courage.
Yeah, that's where I got the term, sorry for a shameless plug, get your brave on, because it's not something that I possess.
Literally,
like it's an outfit. Like it's almost like this is an outfit that I'm going to put on today.
I know you've already thought of this for your get your brave on, but putting on the full armor of God.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? Putting on the helmet of salvation, putting on the shield of faith, putting on your brave. I have to do that intentionally today, or it will not happen.
Okay. Well, we got to pray for you. Got to get it on, and sometimes it's a pair of shoes that are like, these shoes make me feel really brave today. So I'm going to put these shoes on because I'm going to do hard things today. And I don't feel like doing a hard thing today, but I'm going to wear my platform wedges.
That's right, girl.
Because they're going to make me feel like that. Because,
and also, it's kind of silly. So it's such a first world problem house, but whatever you're going through right now, whatever is important to you, don't belittle it, because it's important to you, and God will bless you and God will be involved. You're like, oh God, I shouldn't be complaining about my plumbing problem. I shouldn't be complaining about whatever the situation is, but God cares. He cares about your well-being in every area.
Yeah. Because he cares about your well-being, because it's not just a plumbing problem. It's something else that's going on that's causing that to affect your sense of safety and your sense of stability. Sure. And that's what he wants for your life. Well, I love this. So many things we've been talking about, hard things that we can do. We can choose to be brave. And you're talking about getting brave babes, valuing ourselves more. So
in our
Kerri,
language,
I've seen you
in our language and how we
Yes.
talk, how we act, and how we approach things.
I love that. So could you talk to that person right now? I've seen you do your thing on stage several times, and it's amazing how she weaves in comedy, and then she'll change your life with a comment about how much Jesus cares about you while you're laughing and crying. It's the best emotion ever that she's able to do. So there's somebody that's, been through a plot twist. Maybe it's a divorce like you and I have, or they're in the beginnings of single motherhood and they don't feel like they can do it, or it's a job loss, or it's just, they're absolutely lost and know that there's something more for their lives, but they just can't find it. Could you speak to her right now and tell her to value herself, and that big teddy bear that Jesus is hiding behind his back saying, if you just gave up this thing that's doing just enough, I'm going to give you more than enough.
I think that it just goes to show you, Amanda, that whoever's listening right now, you may go, oh, that doesn't apply to me. I'm not going through a divorce. I'm not changing my job. I'm not in a pit. I'm fine. But the hair on the neck is standing up. You're feeling shaky. You're not sleeping well. Things are edgy. You don't feel good in a general way. So many women are like, but I'm not dying and I'm not sick and I'm not going through a crisis, but you're on edge all the time and you're nervous all the time and you're feeling shaky and you don't know why. The only thing I can tell you to do is to get off the scrolling and get to praying. You need to spend less time scrolling and more time praying, because the praying is what's going to change the circumstance. Me buying furniture on the Sacramento buy sell website is probably not how I need to spend an hour and a half this morning preparing for the podcast, but I really need a dresser for my daughter's bedroom. And God's like, yo, audio Bible app is like right next door. Okay. I didn't even hard for you, Kerri. You can listen to the Bible on the audio. Okay. It's that easy. So in Jesus' name, I just declare and decree that God has an appointment with you today. It's on your lunch break. This is big, and I'm preaching to myself, but you turn off the Netflix, turn off the Prime, turn off the Apple TV, turn off the Hulu. Yes, I have all those streamers. Yes, I have all those streamers.
She's picking it up.
This is my Bible from
there. You go.
It's got the highlighting when I really cared so much about the Bible to highlight it. And listen, it is not going out of style. And the thing I want to say.
I love you so much.
I have my Bible and then my camera.
Yes.
The Bible is not going to jump off the dresser and land in your face. It's not magic genie. So here's what I have to say to you. You have to make an effort. And if you make an effort, there's way more than a teddy bear for you. Okay. There's way more than you could have ever expected. There is finance. There is strategy. God gives you strategy. God gives you amazing ideas, amazing connections, amazing things that just pop into your head because you made an appointment with him. You are not going to get that watching The Crown, even though I love that show. Okay. And other things, and that can all go. God cares. He wants you to go to the food festival on Saturday and stuff your face to you candy. But where is he in your daily life? Where is he? I'm preaching to myself.
Me too. Because if you are needing change and you're like, God, something's got to change. He's the one that can, he's the only one that can bring that change that you desperately want in your life. That's what I've discovered.
Wait,
he's
can I end
the only
this,
one.
Yes. I have to end this podcast on the best part. So I'm preaching. I'm talking about delegating. I'm preaching the gospel. The doorbell rings. It's Connie. We got
to let her. I love you.
Wait, you guys want to hold on?
Let's meet Connie. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, Ruby, say hi to my friend.
Hi.
Oh, she's like, I don't. So listen, life doesn't stop for you.
No. That's why you got to make the appointment.
Right, but you guys, seriously, I was up at like 6 a.m. and sometimes when I get up at 6 a.m, I get really mad. I don't need to be up. And sometimes when I'm like in my right mind, I say, if I'm up, I'm going to pray. If I'm up, I'm going to pray because or I'll go back to sleep. You know what I mean? So I just believe that God has an appointment for you. And there's nobody listening who doesn't have time.
Yep, you do. Love you. I appreciate you so much. I can't wait until you move here.
Well, you're going to hook me up with all the important people like hairstylists
Yes. Dermatologists, all the wonderful things.
Important people.
You got it. All right. I love you, girl. Thanks for pouring into the Brave Babes. See you soon.
Sure. Anytime.